The Rainmaker Multiplier on-demand series is brought to you by Clarity to Prosperity, a financial training, coaching, and IP development organization led by financial advisors, coaches, and business leaders committed to taking a holistic approach to advising. To learn more about our organization and upcoming training opportunities for financial professionals, visit claritytoprosperity.com.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Rainmaker Multiplier podcast. This is Jason Smith, and today I have Rob LaCivita as our guest. And this is going to be a cool conversation that we get to have because I'm obviously very familiar with this program. It's the Advisor Career Path. I've been developing it for probably going on about 3 years. And while it's been in development, Rob has had the benefit of being the crash dummy and us testing it out at JL Smith. And so welcome, Rob, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, so Rob, to give you a little bit of background, he is the integrator in EOS language. So that's basically the system or the structure that we run off of. It's like equivalent to like the, COO of a company, right? Like the one that everybody's reporting up to, like all the major, functions in the organization. And so Brian Bibbo and I have been working closely with him of passing the baton and taking over that role. But he does the quarterly conversations, the reviews with all the people that lead the different lanes, as we call them, or divisions, like marketing and sales and operations and finance, et cetera, within the JL Smith group. So Rob, we have, how many team members we have now? Maybe 10, 12, somewhere around there?
We have 12, yeah.
12, yep. So we're at 12 team members, and just give it some perspective. We're on pace to, I think last I checked, we were almost at 60 million of new assets gathered this year. And so probably on pace to maybe break 70 million, which is great. And Rob, in addition to, being at that level of the integrator or, the different divisions reporting up to him, he also actually manages the financial services lane in the practice. So the financial services lane is basically the operations of the, in client service. It's like the client experience of all the different financial services we offer. And so that lane is really, that division is reporting up to Rob too. So Rob has the benefit of the advisors reporting up to him and doing the quarterly conversations and basically the reviews and articulating and explaining to the advisors, where they're at in their career development on their career path. So Rob, let's start with a question here. And first of all, just explain to the listeners the 5 different rungs that we have as part of this career path, and just in general, what each of these 5 rungs represents.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to share. So the first rung on the career path is the client service advisor. So their function is pretty much, handling all the pre-appointment and post-appointment functions and the helping support the advisors and making sure the folders are in place, and organized and making sure that they have everything they need for appointment, and then post-appointment, all the takeaways, all the to-dos that they need to make sure that, the actions that the advisors have instructed are carried out. They also do, a lot of client administration, new business processing, managing the dashboards in our CRM. We use Smart Office as our CRM. So really, in a lot of ways, and that backstage support for the advisors. The next rung up from client service advisor is Paraplanner. So they're primarily responsible for plan design. And, we're fortunate to have a really experienced and knowledgeable paraplanner here. They coordinate with our advisors to get the to plan probably 80% of the way done, and then they meet with the advisor to go over it together. The advisor will kind of tweak it and make changes before it's presented to the client. But the paraplanner does a lot of that heavy lifting for the advisor in building out those plans. They'll do a lot of the financial and tax modeling and make some product recommendations as well.
And Rob,
and
I'm
then up
gonna
from there, that
pause real quick to interject. So excellent. So these two rungs that Rob just described are both backstage. They're not yet sitting front stage with the client, interacting with the client. They're more in a support role backstage, doing all the things to make the front stage better at what they do and make them shine in front of those clients. And Rob, we didn't even have a paraplanner in place for a little while. And it's quite often that second chair advisor, which I hate the term, but a lot of people use it, junior advisor, would do all of the paraplanning. And so I want to put that in perspective because some people get confused and think you have to have all 5 of these rungs simultaneously. You don't. Somebody's got to do plan design though. Sometimes it is the lead advisor doing it all, probably not the best use of their time. Sometimes it's that second chair, i.e. junior advisor, some would call it, that's doing a lot of the plan design. And other times, you've grown into a size practice or you've developed someone to that point where there is a paraplanner rung that's doing a big part of that plan design.
Yep, absolutely. No, that's a great explanation as well. So moving on then to the front stage, right? So at that rung 3 advisor level, the primary responsibility is serving as that second chair support. A lot of what Jason just described in supporting the lead advisor on the larger cases. Sales and service then of the smaller accounts. So they're servicing as, again, that second chair for the lead advisor on bigger clients, and then handling some of the smaller accounts on their own. So, they juggle a lot of different responsibilities, in that second chair, and we lean really heavily on our second chair advisors here as well. They'll do some prospecting as well, and as Jason already mentioned, some plan design. If there's not a paraplanner, in the organization, they'll do some plan design, and obviously the financial tax modeling product recommendations as well. And then, continuing with the front stage advisor, the rung 4 advisor, the lead advisor. So obviously first chair responsibility, handling the highest net worth clients of the organization. The responsible oftentimes for a lot of business development as well, doing, the workshops and some of the virtual seminars that we're doing, and, just really being out front, of the organization and working with the higher tier clients, and also providing mentorship as well, right? And when you have a second chair in on your cases, you have that kind of ability and responsibility to help mentor that second chair and bring them along as well. And then finally, the final stage, that 5th stage in the advisor career path, is practicing partner, right? So if you have demonstrated that ability to close those higher net worth clients, to do some business development and bringing new clients into the firm, have an opportunity to buy in as a partner. Obviously, every firm can do it how they want to do it, but the responsibilities here, obviously, leading and managing the firm, sales and management of the largest client relationships, executive leadership of the firm. Jason mentioned on the outset that we operate on EOS, and the practicing partner will certainly be on that leadership team. And then growth, right? Driving growth, doing a lot of business development and helping, help drive revenue for the organization.
Well said, Rob. So 2 backstage, 3 front stage, and some firms are never going to offer a practicing partner level. I don't know if that's the best practice, but some have they just don't want a partner ever, right? So they're going to die in the sole 100% owner seat. And then ultimately that's when the firm will have a new, owner introduced. But what I love about having that practicing partner level as the 5th level is it gives you the ability to sell the dream, to attract, retain, and reward top talent. And I think the biggest difference, I often get this question, Rob, like what's the biggest difference or what is the difference between a lead advisor and a practicing partner? Because on the surface, it just doesn't seem like there's much of a difference there. Well, you're right. In some aspects, there's not a huge difference there, but there are some subtle ones. One that's not so subtle is the practicing partner has ownership, right? Where the lead advisor doesn't. But the practicing partner is really, in many cases, sitting in a leadership role, as Rob described, right? So they're a bigger part of shaping the vision and the strategy of the firm as a whole. And really, the other thing that, so that one's a little bit more subtle and people may not realize because it's a little bit more, you don't see that on the surface. But the other thing is the practicing partner in the way that we've designed it, they have to be a rainmaker. And a rainmaker to a level that from a business development officer standpoint, that's a very popular term in the RA world, business development officer. And so what they are is their responsibility for bringing new clients to the firm, not just for themselves, but to feed the entire firm. And so, that's one of the criteria that we have made as a criteria to become a practicing partner, and you may consider too, is because there can be a lead advisor that is more of a farmer in nature, not a hunter, right? They're not going down hunting and bringing in brand new clients to the firm that they're feeding off to the rest of the advisors of the firm. They're really just farming their existing relationships, getting referrals, growing that block of business, and playing an invaluable role, absolutely, but they're not really hunters or hardwired that way. Where a practicing partner, you may want to put that criteria of actually being a hunter and truly a rainmaker for the entire practice, not just for their, business that they're bringing in for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well said, Jason.
So Rob, too, let's talk a little bit about how long, let's say that I'm bringing in somebody brand new and they're at the rung one client service advisor level. And say I'm bringing in somebody brand new out of college, because this is typically more of an entry level type of position, somebody who's either coming out of college or only been in the year or in the industry, maybe 1 to 3 years max. And how long can I expect to stay in that rung? And are there levels within that rung, or am I just kind of like my career is not advancing until I become a paraplanner?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's one thing that's kind of the beauty of it is that it is built out. So there is clearly defined steps within each rung. So to answer your first question, Jason, the time in the rung, probably 1 to 3 years, in that rung. You said it's somebody new to the industry. The two individuals that we have as the client service advisors in our office are actually right out of college. But they're super sharp people. This is interesting because we can compare and contrast, people in these roles and how long it can take to advance to the next rung. We've got somebody in the rung who will be after a year and a half, and right at the beginning of next year, we're going to move on to the next rung. So go from client service advisor to paraplanner after about 18 months. The other individual needs a little bit more work, a little bit more seasoning, a little bit more development. So they'll be in that role a little bit longer, right? It might take that 3 years in that rung to reach the net level. But, it's kind of the beauty of it. And when we're presenting it with people, or to individuals, whether it's somebody we're recruiting or somebody who's already here, after we put it in place, it's, these parameters are in place. They know upfront what they're getting, what the expectations are, what the criteria for success are. So, how do we measure that 1 to 3 years? That can seem kind of daunting, right? So if we're recruiting somebody and perhaps, right out of college and say, I got to stay in this for 3 years. Well, it's 1 to 3 years, but here's exactly what you need to do to advance, right? Here is level 1. You need pre-appointment preparation mastery. You need post-appointment preparation mastery. And then here's where you need the level 2, and on and on and on, and level 3, and the various designations that you need to ascend from level 1 to level 2 to level 3, and then eventually to being an advisor. So it's great in the clarity that it provides. It provides, it removes the subjectivity, I suppose, and these are objective measures that we know in advance we need to hit before we can move on from level 1, 2, and 3 within the rung and then to the next rung.
Excellent. And so, Rob, what if you run into a situation where somebody joins as a client service advisor and maybe they even advance to the next level of doing all the plan design, the Paraplanner rung. But let's say at that point, they're still backstage and they've come to the realization they never want to go front stage, right? They don't actually want to go to front stage and become an advisor. Is there a potential role within the firm for them? And what might that look like?
Yeah, there certainly is, Jason, and that's a great question, right? Maybe they call an audible on their career, right? They're young, they think maybe this is what they want to do. Perhaps they get to that Paraplanner level like you described and they love it, right? They know that this is really what they enjoy doing and they want to stay there. Well, I mean, obviously each firm will need to make their own decision on what's the best interest of the firm. But, for me and I think for our organization, perhaps having a lifer as a Paraplanner could be a great thing, right? When you have that institutional knowledge in that seat, to grow and to support all of the other advisors. And not only that, but to train people as they are going through the career path, right? I mean, people might want to hit the minimum of time in the rung and get to that lead advisor, right, as fast as possible. Well, if we have somebody who's a Paraplanner who just, they like that role, they can provide a lot of that teaching and coaching and mentorship that, maybe the advisors don't have the full capacity to be able to do it. We have another person who can be designated to help with that. And so we can present to this person, for example, that person who called the audible and wants to perhaps stay in the rung, or maybe not go to a front stage advisor, put a plan in front of them and say, perhaps lane lead is your next career, right? That financial services lane that you mentioned, maybe they develop those skills to be in some type of leadership role on the operations side, right? Maybe they can lead the backstage team. So within our financial services department, we've got a front stage and a backstage. Backstage, as you mentioned, is Paraplanners and client service advisor. Maybe start as a team lead for the Paraplanners and the client service advisor, and then maybe graduate up to the lane lead for the financial services, and then perhaps graduate to the integrator as well down the road. So we want to make sure that if it's somebody who's talented and somebody who we absolutely want to continue to be a member of the firm, let them know that they have options in front of them, even if it's not a front stage advisor role.
Yeah, well put. And I think, if you go into this with the intention of bringing in future advisors of the firm, if you're wanting to develop future advisors, and it's not the end of the world if after you've invested time and energy, even a few years, if they decide they don't want to be an advisor, but they could be a key operational team member, just on the team. Why lose the tribal knowledge, if you can find a place for them and they could be a valuable contributing member of the team? But on the other hand, by thinking with the end in mind and bringing people up through the organization that have the desire and the capability to eventually become an advisor. Now what you do is, you're training with the end in mind to be able to add, because I know in my experience, those that grow up in the firm are more loyal, they understand, they have the tribal knowledge, they've built relationships amongst the firm. I mean, there's just, opposed to just bringing them in, I think the hardest position to bring in is a lead advisor directly, because they have so much experience already. I mean, truly the old dog teaching them new tricks. I mean, it's the hardest learning curve.
Absolutely. And yeah, learning our new processes. And obviously we work on the bucket plan. Maybe that's a new concept to them, and following the process they have in place. Absolutely. That could be a difficult transition for somebody who's used to, and maybe having the autonomy of maybe having their own practice and incorporating them into a larger organization where we aren't siloed here. We're an ensemble practice where we, all are focused on several different touch points and service levels to the clients outside of just meeting with one advisor. So absolutely, that can be a difficult transition.
I'm glad you brought that up, Rob. Is, we have three uniques, right? That every time we're doing marketing, we're describing at least one of the three or all three in combination. Anytime that we're in a sales situation, business development, we're trying to, take people through the financial planning process. We're explaining our three uniques. And one of them, you just said, Rob, an ensemble practice. And a huge part of these 5 rungs, the original inspiration came from Philip Palaviv and the book, The Ensemble Practice. And, so I would encourage anybody who wants to adopt this. We obviously have a number of resources to help you do so, an entire program, online university learning module. We're building out the virtual and live training. We have mentorship, coaching, etc. But I would highly recommend the book, The Ensemble Practice. It's one of our 3 uniques. In addition to, at our firm, it's because, in case you're wondering, it's the bucket plan, right? Holistic financial planning through the bucket plan. And then third, it's advanced tax planning, right? It's the more comprehensive or advanced tax planning. And that combination of the 3, of the bucket plan and advanced tax planning and being an ensemble practice, is pretty powerful, like from a value proposition to explain it to clients of why they should join. But it's also really, really powerful to explain to potential advisors to join. And that's one of the biggest benefits of having this advisor career path, attracting, retaining, and rewarding top talent, all the way up to that person that's got maybe just unbelievable rock star level talent. And the only way that you're going to retain them is through equity. And so having that 5th and final rung of practicing partner can be pretty powerful in your ability to retain someone that you may have otherwise lost. And it doesn't mean gifting them equity, it means them buying in. Now, how favorable of the buy-in or what the terms are going to depend on everybody's individual situation, and it's a whole nother conversation there.
Right. In fact, Jason, I just had an interview on Friday with an outstanding candidate that I'm really excited about and impressed with. And we went over this career path, and you can just see his eyes light up. And he was just kind of blown away, because one of the, when I was asking this question, what does he like? What does he not like where he's at? And one of them was just, it changed when he got there, right? And just kind of this ambiguity. He wasn't really sure where things were going. And then I laid out in front of him exactly this career path, showed him what it takes to get to the next run, what the opportunity looks like. He was blown away. So it is a really, really powerful recruiting tool to attract talent to the organization.
That's awesome, Rob. And you know what? I will say too, it makes it so much easier when you're designing compensation, because you can use industry benchmarking studies for each of these 5 rungs, which is very easy to do. That data is already out there. And so it makes it so much easier for you to design a competitive compensation, that really aligns with these rungs and how you're going to offer people. You want to be competitive. You want to attract, retain, and reward.
Absolutely. And provide them clarity on what the opportunity looks like and what the various, rungs and compensation within each rung looks like as well. Yep, setting those expectations up front.
Rob, the last thing I'd like you to do as we're landing the plane here is, if you could describe the different team members, and I think we're safe to use first names, but you talked a little bit about like Michael and Sarah, which were our entry level positions. Sarah had more experience because she had interned with us for a few years, or two or three. Versus like Michael didn't have that level of experience. And I think that plays a part in why Sarah is moving up the rung a little bit faster than Michael, because of that tribal knowledge and that intern experience that she had. But you talked a little bit about Michael and Sarah and the three levels within the client service advisor rung. And Sarah's climbed those levels and she's now ready to move on to the paraplanner rung. Michael's got another level to climb or two within the client service advisor rung. But who else do we have and what rung are they at? And what are the kind of conversations are you having with them, and where are they going to next? I think would be helpful.
Absolutely. That's a great question. So mentioned we have a paraplanner. We've got Dylan in the paraplanner role, and we brought him in as a paraplanner, and we asked him what his career aspirations are, and he didn't really want to look too far past paraplanner, which is great. So maybe, just like we already discussed, maybe he does eventually move on to that front stage advisory role. But, really to his credit, he didn't want to look past the role that he was going to, join the firm, and he just wanted to focus on it and be great at it.
And that's what we needed. That's specifically what we needed.
Absolutely.
In his case, we found him through Simply Paraplanner, right? Which is an organization that specifically places paraplanners. We had a need for that. We went out and we had a rung for him to plug right into. Now, over time, to your point, Rob, he may get really comfortable and decide he wants to advance as an advisor, or he might be a lifer at the paraplanner role. And, based on, quality of work, we either find a place for him or he served a temporary need and we move on to someone else that wants to continue to advance.
Yeah. So then we mentioned Michael and Sarah, rung 1, rung 2, obviously Dylan the paraplanner. So level 3, we've actually got 3 advisors in this level 3 advisor category. And this is a great explanation and a great illustration, I suppose, of all of the different levels really that they're in. And so we hired a new advisor a few months ago, still in training, doing a great job for us. Tracy, hired in, had some industry experience in the degrees and designations that we were looking for. So she hired into the firm as a rung 3 advisor, and so she's at level 1 right now. Training on all of the different things that we our processes, our procedures, getting some practical training as well, meeting with clients, presenting plans to our advisors. So she's ready on when her time is called to do those meetings herself. So she's at that level 1, level 1, rung 3 in the advisor. And then we have Joe, right? Joe's been here for a few years at that rung 3 advisor level. He's at a level 2, based on our most previous conversation. We're working with him, continuing to mentor him, serving as that second chair, able to bring on, he's more of a hunter, right? So he does have the ability to bring on some B and C clients. He's serving as the second chair for some of our A clients as well. And can handle those service requests that he gets from clients throughout the day. So he's really at that level 2, rung 3 advisor level. And then we have Chad. Chad's been with us for a number of years, started at that client service level, certainly has a real, the strong paraplanning skills to be able to build out plans. He's now a rung 3 advisor, and he's at level 3. So he's serving as that second chair for some of those AAA clients. We call them Blue Diamonds. He has a documented track record of success in this role of closing some of the B clients as well. And he certainly has the ability to, effectively deliver workshop presentations as a subject matter expert. It's something that, we've asked him to do, and he does a nice job of presenting that. So he is right now on the cusp of being that lead advisor, right? So you kind of flip the page when you're looking at rung 3, okay, level 1, level 2, level 3, what's next, right? So the next rung is lead advisor for him. And so for us, level 1 is closing $8 million of NAUA annually, new assets under advisor annually. So these are the conversations we're having with Chad, tracking his metrics, tracking the production that he has throughout the year. And we're really confident he's going to hit that, the $8 million of new assets this year to be able to, or by the end of the year, to be able to be a lead advisor. So, Yeah, we've got people on not only within each rung, but within more granular each level of each rung. And they know where they sit. We review all of the parameters and requirements to move on, and just creates a lot of clarity throughout the organization. And like I said, kind of eliminates a lot of the subjectivity to these when people are advancing in their career.
Yeah.
And then
go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. And then also lead advisor, we have Jeff, right? Jeff Warnkin, industry veteran, outstanding advisor, really successful, really sharp, our lead advisor. And so that I guess kind of goes without saying. A lot of people know Jeff, and he's certainly closing the assets that we're looking for each year to stay at that level. Like I said, one of the top advisors certainly in the area.
And I think the difference too, Rob, with Jeff is he's later in his career and he chose not to buy in as a practicing partner, right? Because of the fact of just where he's at in his career. He's hitting the levels from a production standpoint where he's eligible to. He's an unbelievable lead advisor, but Jeff chose, for a combination of reasons, right? In addition to that, he's not really one to want to play a leadership role now he leads by example, he mentors, he's got an amazing ability to teach great strategies and lead by example and all those things, but he doesn't really want to be in a leadership role as in on the executive team, leading the future vision strategy of the firm. He doesn't love doing business development. So a combination of those kind of things, Jeff has found his niche as a lead advisor, loves his clients, loves playing a role inside of the ensemble practice, but not someone who has a desire to buy in and go to that next level of practicing partner.
Absolutely. Great example of it. And then, then we come to Brian, who is a practicing partner and loves the business development, and he does all our workshops. And if anybody's ever checked out any of our virtual seminars that Brian's done, I joke with him, I think he missed his career as a game show host. He brings a lot of energy and makes it really interactive and fun. And then, of course, he's sitting in front of our highest net worth prospects and clients, and outstanding job of closing business. And he kind of goes in and out of appointments as well. So for some of the higher net worth clients, maybe he sits in on the first one to get the commitment to move on through the process, and it maybe doesn't sit in on the design appointment and then comes back for the delivery appointment. So, very much serving that business development role in the organization. And then there's plenty of clients he does take through, the entire discover, design, delivery process on his own. So yeah, it's the career path, again, is something that we have woven kind of into the fabric of the firm, and got people with all levels of it. And yeah, it's exciting to see, and it provides that clarity for everybody.
Rob, awesome, man. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being on this podcast. I'm sure everybody else is really loving it too, because we're able to share the program and kind of how it works within how the 5 rungs actually have levels within, and then apply some real life examples. And I'm sure everybody else is thinking about the people in their firm right now and where they are in the backstage or maybe in the front stage. Maybe even some of you are reflecting on the lost opportunity of putting administrative people, receptionists, assistants in the backstage doing a lot of the things that you could have had a future advisor doing. So maybe some of that thinking, or just maybe a great advisor that you could have hired that you weren't able to attract, or maybe you had a great advisor you weren't able to retain because you didn't have the right structure to reward them, to keep them around for the long haul. So that's our goal, is to share with you some of the best practices out of the field at JL Smith through the Rainmaker Multiplier podcast, and ultimately expose you to this new thought leadership, the advisor career path, and how you might be able to benefit it to grow your firm. And again, thanks for joining us, Rob.
Happy to help. And just for everybody, I am on the Mentor Connect portal. So if you have any questions or follow-up questions, want to learn more about it, happy to get on a call with you and walk you through and provide some more detail and insight on it.
Excellent. All right, y'all. We'll catch you on the next podcast. Thanks again, Rob. Bye-bye.
Great. Thanks, Jason.
The Rainmaker Multiplier On-Demand series is brought to you by Clarity to Prosperity, a financial training, coaching, and IP development organization led by financial advisors, coaches, and business leaders committed to taking a holistic approach to advising. To learn more about our organization and upcoming training opportunities for financial professionals, visit claritytoprosperity.com.